Get it rolling, Dan?
I mean, when you kind of look back at Shedur's performance against Chicago, what was the thing that maybe in that game, I mean, for all the bad maybe that you saw the positive step forward out of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were some explosive plays there. Like I thought the third down where he hit IB down the middle of the field, the drop was really good. The timing was good. That was a look that we kind of had prepped for, knowing how they were going to play. And just felt like there was a real improvement there on seeing the coverage, recognizing the timing that it needed to come out on, and making that explosive. Had a good alert there on the post to IB versus 0, stayed in the pocket, threw it on time to a spot, getting hit. Evades the rush well, is able to extend. And, there's always positives to draw on. They don't always drive home results, but there's always little things within the game that you're going to have positives on and look to continue to build upon. And then, look, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be things that you want to coach. That's certainly across the board for our players right now. So it's important to find those both positive reinforcement, things that you're doing well, and then find the areas that we need to continue to improve on. But he's been really good this week in terms of taking all that in and being excited to go out and continue to improve and continue to build upon the things that he's doing well for us right now.
Yesterday, a lot about his completion percentage. It sounds like it's a teaching point he's been given. What's the problem there? He's 20 points down from his college numbers. I know there's going to be a drop-off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's different. There's a different level, right? And there's different types of throws you're being asked. I think for any young player, for any young quarterback, the adjustment of playing in this league of what is open versus what's not open, what does timing look like versus waiting on things, when is it time to try to extend versus taking what might be there. The completion percentages, we talked about the sack numbers very early in the year and talking about that's not solely on the offensive line, and talking about the run game not solely being on the offensive line. The completion percentage is also not solely on the quarterback. There's other areas where, as an offensive unit, we need to improve and help them out. And then there's some areas there where we can take completions and find completions that are accessible. And then we got to finish the play at other spots. So, we want to be efficient, but we also want to be able to create explosives, which he's done a nice job of. And finding that balance is something as a young player that we're going to continue to work on with him.
There's been a couple of times that in games so far with him this season where he has pressed when you guys fall behind and he's trying to get you guys back in the game. So how do you find that balance between hitting the next explosive and not going too far with pressing?
Yeah, it's similar to what we talked about a week ago. I think you got to allow the defense and your eyes and your progression, bless you, take you to where the ball is supposed to be, take you where the completion is supposed to be. So I think, look, you're not going to get it all back in one play. And I think, I read this week, like Kevin O'Connell was talking about J.J. McCarthy, and I think he was talking about like finding completions, and that's an area to improve upon and an area that he has improved upon. And so many times when we have players on the outside, players that if we get their ball in their hands, some things can be created that way. I think it's continuing to harp on those and, again, follow the defense and allow them to help dictate where the ball should end up and listen to your feet and eyes as you're working your progressions.
Hey, Tommy, your name has come up as a candidate for that Michigan job. Where does that stand?
Yeah, similar to what I said, like I'm here and I'm focused on this job and focused on the improvement of our players and the improvement of our offense. And, that's really all there is with that. I'm excited to be here and working to improve our guys.
But have you been contacted by Michigan or anything?
Again, I don't want to get into, a lot of that conversation. It's really just about my focus is solely on, being the best I can for our players, for our staff, for our organization right now.
Going back to the completion percentage thing, obviously you talked about the deep accuracy and he's shown that time and again, but then besides the throwaways, right, there just misses on other things. Like, have you identified like a fundamental that he kind of lapses to that causes him to miss the throw?
Yeah, without going into the detail here, there's certainly fundamental things when you're not – there's a difference between like a physical error and a mental error, right? And, when there's physical errors, you always look at the fundamentals across any position. If a tight end misses a block, are we fundamentally doing the right things with our hands or our feet? If a receiver loses at the top of the route, are we doing the right thing fundamentally on the release or at the break point? For a quarterback, it's no different. Like, is there something with our feet? Is there something? Very rarely do you talk upper body. A lot of it, you talk, lower body, being in sync, using the right drop, putting your eyes allow you to be on time and be in rhythm. And again, like, you're a young quarterback playing in this league, like, there's going to be some ups and downs there. And, as often as we can, we want him to feel confident and comfortable. And when he does and he lets it rip, he's as accurate as you'd want. That's one of his greatest strengths, is his accuracy. It's just about getting, sometimes putting the mental side and the physical side together so that you can play on time and play free.
Did not go to the Harold Fannin well as often as he has been and develop some trust with a few other guys.
Yeah, I don't think it has a lot to do with a lack of trust across the board. I think the Harold Fannin well is a pretty good one to be at. I would say we have trust in our players. Shedeur has trust in the guys that are out there. Harold, a lot of the times you're going to find him, within the progression. And, Harold's done a nice job of winning consistently for us, as other guys have as well. So this is not like a force feed to Harold. It's just, sometimes the coverage dictates it. And, Harold's done a nice job for us.
Early on, it looked like some operational problems.
Yeah.
Was that due to weather or?
Yeah, a couple issues there. Early, you get backed up, you're far away, headset goes out. There's some things there when it's real cold. We just got to be better as a collective group. There's not one person at fault. There's not one player at fault, one coach at fault. We just got to be better as a collective group. I'll shoulder the blame. That starts with me, to make sure that everybody's communicating the way we need to.
We were talking to Shedeur and Jerry yesterday about some of these late rotations that a lot of teams are showing. I think that a lot of those looks that Shedeur saw in the Baltimore game kind of resurfaced against the Bears. How much of it is something that you can really prepare for? It's tough to tell what a defense is going to do post snap. But how much of it is you can prep for it, and how much of it is just kind of getting a feel in game and making those adjustments and just seeing things?
Yeah, Bears certainly had some things early on that they showed that we adjusted to that they hadn't showed on film. Some of the things up front that we saw against Baltimore have resurfaced, and we have a good plan there. I thought our O-line staff did a really nice job in game. We got a pressure on the very first third down of the game, like a free pressure, and then the rest of the game we were assignment sound in where we wanted to be protectionally there. So I thought we did a nice job of adjusting to a new look. So much of what we talk about with the quarterback is where are you putting your eyes, who's your key. And if you want to simplify it as much as possible. When a defense is doing a lot of different things, you want to keep their focus pretty narrow at the quarterback position and try to find specific areas of the field that you're trying to key.
You look at the Bills' defense; their passing defense is second in the league. How
Yeah.
can you guys utilize the run game to help open up those opportunities in the pass game and create that balance?
Yeah. Look, they do a lot of good things in coverage. They got veteran players in the back end that have been in that system a long time. Obviously, head coach is a defensive back guy by trade, and they take a lot of pride, in their ability to have a vary of coverage, to have disguise in their coverages and trying to keep you off balance. They do a really nice job there, and they focus on coverage. I think we have to find a balance. We have to find the ability to run the ball. It's kind of been hot and cold for us throughout the year, and we got to really rely on that and find ways to get Q going and allow our offense to be complementary. Like, when you can run the ball well, it really opens up a lot of things, and you can stay efficient, and it keeps you in better situations on third down. So definitely a huge point of emphasis for us.
Judkins has literally hit the wall a lot of times. There's a wall of blockers in front. But do you think figuratively he's hit a rookie wall too?
I don't. I think Q's been really good for us. Mentally, he's engaged. Physically, he's doing well. We got to support around him, and we got to do a good job of getting him opportunities to find seams, like we were doing there kind of in the midpoint of the year.
Off of Daniel's question, I guess a little bit, there's been a lot of commentary lately about coverage versus progression reads kind of going on around the NFL lately.
Yeah.
I'm curious from your perspective, especially having coached in college too. What do you see from a young quarterback?
Yeah.
And in terms of how do you teach that, and how do you how hard is that to sort of adjust from one to the other?
Yeah, the progression thing is interesting because I think as soon as McVay started talking about being in progressions, Stafford's played in the league how long, and if they're doing it, then the adage with a progression read for a long time was it's great for young players. You don't need to know the coverage. You're 1, 2, 3, 4. You're across the board. I think that's all true. I think where you start to really see the success of it is like guys can eliminate progressions pretty quick based on coverage. So when you have a pretty good idea of coverage and you're in a progression read, you can get to the right side of the progression pretty quickly. When you play these teams that play a lot of coverages, it gives you answers versus what you could see instead of attacking a specific coverage. And then, when you're not sure because of disguise and you're trying to pick a side or play those types of pass game concepts, then it's easier to say, we're going to start our eyes on this defender and we're going to work through it. So, there's a couple different types of read families that have gone around, but certainly, with young players, with guys that are veterans, I think those still have a lot of merit of kind of having catch-all for all the, defensive coaches are really good. They do a good job with their coverage packages, and, you want to have answers for your quarterback as often as possible.
What did you think of the incompletion to Jerry that led to that one interception when you watched it back? And this Jerry season as a whole, like, why do you think he hasn't been able to get closer to that production from last season?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty I love Jerry Jeudy, and I love what he brings to our group. I love what he approaches the game with. I love his commitment to football. Whether or not he's made every catch that we wanted to make, we're going to still, feature him. We're still going to work with him. We're still going to trust him. Like, none of that on our end has wavered at all. That's why we still want to find ways to utilize his strengths. And every time the ball goes to Jerry, we have trust that it's going to be a completion, and we have trust that he's going to win. And that's what Jerry has earned with us, and we want to continue to pour into him and continue to make sure that fundamentally and mentally and the things we're asking him to do, we're continuing to bring the best out of him. And we do have trust that he's going to make plays for us moving forward.
Second deep pass to Isaiah, you kind of motioned him and Shore kind of made a change to his route. I guess from offensive staff to the offensive coordinator, just how much of that is built into the offense, and kind of was that something where even over the course of the season, you guys are giving the rookies more confidence to kind of adjust things on the fly when they see it?
Yeah, we want to have a lot of trust in our guys, right? There's going to be stuff they see on the field. There's going to be stuff that happened during the game, and that's something in the quarterback room we talk about, and we talk about having a trust and communication and being able to certain looks can take you to certain things. So, I would say there's a trust level there with our players that when they feel confident in something, that as coaches and players, we're going to trust each other on that.
Back to the run team, Tommy. The fact that Quinshon's getting hit behind the line so often, and why yesterday talked about facing 6 men up front, you got to win all your one-on-one blocks. Is a play caller, how do you combat that when they're obviously trying to take the run away?
Yeah, we got to be creative in ways to get Q going, right? If they're going to be heavy in certain areas, we got to find ways to access the part of the field where they're not. And, against Chicago, kind of, you start backed up and you go 3 and out, and then there's a swing in the game there where all of a sudden, you're off script, you're off openers, you're off, what you intended to be at. And we got to find ways, even within those times, to continue to focus on, allowing Q to. He's created a lot of explosives for us. He's carried games for us. So finding ways to continue to have him, impact the game.
So your jumbo package was obviously affected by depth in Chicago. You got guys off the street. It's tough, I guess, to integrate them into your jumbo package. But you get the fullback back now.
You love Aiden, man.
I'm just wondering if that'll help Quinshon.
Yeah, like I've said, Aiden does a great job in the things that we ask him to do. We've had some injury issues. We've had some depth issues, tight end, O-line. I do think it helps our group. We've been effective in that personnel grouping. Aiden's done a great job for us, and I'm sure that breeds confidence into those situations for the rest of the group. Aiden's got a lot of energy. He comes in the huddle, he's ready to go. He's hard-headed. He definitely instills some juice into the group when he's on the field. So we're excited to have him back. He's provided a lot of value for us this season, and it's good to get him back healthy for certain.
About that Jerry Jeudy play, I think he said he should have slow-balled it or something like that. What is that?
Late hands, maybe? Yeah. Not allowing the DB to know when the ball's coming, typically, is what late hands would mean.